Okay, hello guys. I promised you to do the video recording of the solution from problem set 7, number 2. So we're speaking about the government intervention in the short run and long run in the perfectly competitive market. So we did number 2. Now let's start. We did number 1, and now let's start number 2. So consider a perfectly competitive constant cost industry with identical firms that have U-shaped long run average costs. So first of all, what means constant cost industry? That means that costs of each firm does not depend on the number of firms. So when the number of firms increases or decreases, total costs stays the same. If we speak about increasing cost industry, that means that the more firms enter the market, the higher the total costs of each firm. So it's like if we speak about some resource, for example, field, and the sheep farmers, the more sheep are on this field, the higher the costs of each farmer. Yes? Okay, never mind. With identical firms that have U-shaped long-run average costs. Okay, assume linear downward slope demand and linear upward sloping short-run industry supply. Okay, upward sloping linear short-run industry supply. That means, and all firms are identical. That means that marginal costs of each firm are also linear upward sloping, because when we multiply the supply of one firm by n, this is the horizontal sum of all marginal costs of our firms, and we will get the market supply. Suppose that initially this industry is in the long run equilibrium. So let us draw the initial state of the world. So we use two side-by-side graphs. So let's vertical axis, money axis. Let's assume that on the left we will have market. On the right we will have one perfectly competitive firm. That's why the horizontal axis in market is Q capital and here Q small. Okay, good. Market demand is linear downward sloping. So this is the demand. And marginal costs of one firm are linear, something like this. Marginal costs before the change. And long run average costs are U-shaped. We know that marginal and average costs intersect in the minimum of average cost. So this is average cost. Okay. And when we and now we are initially in the long run equilibrium. What that means? That means that price will be equal to the minimum of average costs. Why? Because in the long run, profit of each firm is equal to 0. So this is the initial price in the long run. Minimum of average costs. And this is the quantity that one firm will produce in the long run. And for such price, this is the amount that our buyers will consume. That's why when we know the amount that one firm will produce and the amount that will be sold in total, we will find the number of firms in the market. So this point is related to this actual number of firms in the market. So this is the initial equilibrium. Now, what happens? Linear constant cost industry, that means that the long run supply is horizontal. Long run supply is when price is equal to the minimum of average costs. This is long run supply. So for example, when the demand increases, I will show and then erase. When the demand increases, each firm will produce the same quantity, the price will be the same, but the total quantity will be bigger. So the number of firms now is bigger than before. This point is related to the higher amount of firms. Good. So, okay. Now, what we have? Point A. Suppose that a per unit sales subsidy of size S is introduced. Good. So we will speak about point A, per unit subsidy. What that means? Using side-by-side graph, identify the value of deadweight loss in the short run and in the long run. Explain the difference between short run and long run deadweight loss. Okay, what happens? If the per unit subsidy introduced, each unit produced now is cheaper for our seller. Yes, so new marginal costs are old marginal costs minus this subsidy, per unit subsidy, and new average costs are average costs minus subsidy. So we make the shift of both marginal costs and average costs down by this subsidy. So let's do it. This is the subsidy, and minimum of average cost also is lower by this subsidy. Okay, this is average cost new. This is marginal costs new. This difference is subsidy, per unit subsidy. Okay, now let's start from the short run. The initial short run situation is the short run supply curve with n star number of firms. So this is the supply in the short run when we have n firms. Yes, why it is linear? Because marginal costs are linear, and it is written in the task. Good. So now for each firm is cheaper to produce each unit. So we have the parallel shift of the market supply curve, because all marginal costs also shift down. So by S. So this is new supply, but in the short run, the number of firms does not change. Firms cannot enter or leave the market in the short run. So now what happens? This we know. In the short run, demand is equal to supply. We will produce more, Q new. The price for buyers will be lower. This is the price for buyers, PD. The firms will get more from each unit sold. This is the price for sellers, and this difference this difference between these two buyers is the subsidy that government gives us. So where will be the deadweight losses? The deadweight losses. Also, I will show and then I will erase. What we know? We know that now the consumer surplus before was like this. And now price for each buyer decreases. So the consumer surplus increases by this part. Okay. Then what about producer surplus? Before the producer surplus was like this. And now our sellers will earn more from each unit sold. They will sell more and earn more from each unit. So the producer surplus will increase by this part. But our government will spend a lot. Our government will spend all this area as multiplied by Q and U. This is spending of the government. So I will redraw it one more time. So as you see, I will redraw this situation and show you. This is the increase in the producer surplus greater than 0. Then this is the increase in the consumer surplus, and this is also greater than 0. But government spends more than these changes. This is spendings of our government spendings. This is per unit subsidy multiplied by the new quantity. And you see that part of these government spendings are lost. So this triangle is the deadweight loss of the society. So on the graph, the deadweight loss in the short run is this triangle. Then at the end, we will show it. Okay. What we also should show. Identify the value, explain the difference. Okay. Okay. Anyway, as now we earn more from each unit, we will have positive profit. Yes, but it's not the question of our task. So let's continue and consider the long run. So what happens in the long run? In the long run, now profit of each firm in the short run now is positive because we have such subsidy. Yes, and new firms begin to enter the market. The competition increases, supply increases. That's why the price decreases. And price will decrease up to which one? The new minimum of average costs. To minimum of new average costs. And here, profit of each firm, new and long run, will be equal to 0. One more time. So in the long run supply shifts down. This is new long run supply. This difference is the subsidy. We know that in this point, more units will be sold. This is Q in the long run. New, the price will be lower in the long run. Yes, but each firm will earn 0 profit. How much our government will spend. As always, government spendings are equal to the subsidy multiplied by this new quantity in the long run. So how to show? So this area subsidy multiplied by the new quantity is the government spendings. So now, what happens? What happens? One more time. So this was the demand. This was the supply before. This is the long run supply now. This is S. Now consumers are better off. The consumer surplus increases by this area. Government spends how much? This area. These are government spendings. Red is the change in the consumer surplus. It's positive. But what happens with the producer surplus? Producer surplus before in the initial situation was zero because the profit from which we start was zero. And now at the end, in the new long run equilibrium, the profit is exactly zero. So before and now, producer surplus does not change and it is equal to zero. Yes? So deadweight loss is the difference between the government spendings and the change in the consumer surplus. This is the deadweight loss in the long run. And when we compare deadweight loss in the short run and in the long run, intuitively, in the long run, deadweight loss will be higher. Why? Because in the short run, producers will gain some profit. Some part of the subsidy will go to producers. But in the long run, too many firms enter and the profit will be zero. So the bigger part of government spendings will be lost. So in the long run, deadweight loss in the long run are bigger than deadweight loss in the short run. And let us show these deadweight losses on the graph. So, okay, this is the deadweight loss in the short run. And this is the deadweight loss in the long run. And it's bigger. What else we can show? Also, we can show the positive profit in the short run, and that's now the profit is equal to zero. But exactly now in the new long run, price in the long run is actually equal to the average costs in the long run. Yes? So profit will be zero. What's in the short run? In the short run, we actually will produce more. Yes, because with higher price, we'll produce more. Yes, and this will be the quantity that we will produce in the short run in point A. And average cost from this quantity will be this one. This is average costs out of Q short run. So this difference is the profit margin. This is the price for seller. This difference is the profit margin. Yes, and all this area will be the profit of one firm in the short run, and it will be positive. So this is the profit of firm in the short run. And in the long run, price in the long run equals to the average costs in the long run. Why? Because it's minimum. So we will not have area. Profit in the long run will be equal to 0. So I think that's all about this task. Okay, good. Now let's do point B. Now suppose instead of per unit subsidy, every active firm that produces positive output gets a lump sum subsidy L. So now I should identify the value of that weight loss, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's draw the initial situation and then give the lump sum subsidy. So let us prepare the graph one more time. The initial equilibrium. This minimum of average costs. And this is initial price in the long run. So initial long run supply is like this. And this point is for such number of firms. And this is initial quantity as before. So we start from the situation when the profit of our firm is 0 as before. So, okay, let's draw the supply of all firms for such situation in the short run. And now we have lump sum subsidy. Lump sum subsidy L, lump sum subsidy. What will change? So let us consider total costs that were before. What happens with the total costs? Now costs are lower. Why? Because we have this lump sum subsidy, but this is constant. Yes? So these are total costs new. What will be the new marginal costs? As we take the derivative, this will be 0. So marginal costs will stay the same. But average costs will be lower. Total costs minus L over quantity. No, over Q small. So this will be average costs that were before minus L over Q. So we have this difference. So average costs will be lower. Okay, so now how they will change? Let's draw. If the quantity is high, so if the quantity is approximately infinity, so this part is approximately 0. So our new average costs are the same as average costs. Okay. If the quantity is low, so here it is stick to average costs that were before. Vice versa, if the quantity is small, this part is very big. This part is very big. It is approximately infinity. So average costs that were before, this difference is very, very big between these two average costs. And so this difference is this L over Q. And this difference is different for each quantity that we want to sell. So let us show this for equilibrium station. Okay. It's an average cost mu. Now, what will happen in the short run? In the short run supply will stay the same. So in the short run supply stays the same. So this equal to the short run supply after the lump sum subsidy. So the demand equals to supply price will stay the same and marginal cost will stay the same. So the quantity will stay the same. But our firms will gain a profit. It was 0 before, but now this is the price in the short run equals to the minimum of previous average costs. And what are the average costs new for such quantity? We put in new average costs this quantity, and this will be new average costs out of this quantity that we sell in the short run. And what is this difference? This difference is actually our lump sum subsidy over Q in the short run. This difference between these two average costs, old and new. So what will be the profit? Our profit margin is price in the short run minus average costs new in the short run multiplied by the Q in the short run. This is the profit in the short run. But now this is the price in the short run minus average costs, old. How to name them? Old. Okay, old. Plus L over Q in the short run multiplied by the Q in the short run. Price in the short run and the previous minimum of average cost, they are equal to each other. So this is equal to 0. And we see that our firm will gain exactly the profit that is equal to this lump sum subsidy. Obvious, yes? I understood it intuitively. So this difference is the profit of our firm in the short run. What are government spendings on such subsidy? They are huge, yes, because how to show the deadweight loss from such subsidy? The producer surplus. So let's find. Producer surplus now is this. Yes, for each firm lump sum subsidy. So this is L multiplied by the number of firms. Yes, their profits multiplied by N. Okay. And consumer surplus stays the same. And what else? And government spendings now are exactly equal to this lump sum subsidy multiplied by the number of firms. Yes. So the new social welfare are new producer surplus plus consumer surplus minus government spendings. But producer surplus and government spendings, they eliminate each other. And social welfare was as before, equal to the consumer surplus. New equals to social welfare old. That's why deadweight losses, deadweight loss in the short run with lump sum subsidy equals to 0. So no losses. All government spendings go to our firms. Each firm will earn this lump sum subsidy. The profit was before 0, and now it is equal to the lump sum subsidy. Good. So next. Now we proceed to the long run. In the long run, the price will go to the minimum of average costs new. Why? Because long run, profit in the short run, we counted it, it is L. It is bigger than 0. That's why firms begin to enter the market, supply increases. That's why the optimal price decreases up to new minimum. Price in the long run will be equal to minimum of average costs new. And profit of each firm will decrease up to 0. As before. Okay, let us show it on the graph. So the new price will be in the new minimum of average costs. So the long run supply will be like this. This was long run supply. This is long run supply new. Then price in the long run, the quantity that each firm will this Q in the long run. Marginal cost does not change. Then this is the new quantity, Q new in the long run. So profit of each firm is equal to 0 because there is no difference between average costs and the price in the long run. Profit in the long run equals to 0. But where are government spendings? Where are government spendings? I will use green. As you remember, the difference between average costs new and average costs low, this is the difference equals to L over the Q now in the long run. So how we can show this area? So government spendings will be like this. This area. These are new government spendings in the long run. Why? Because if this difference is L over Q in the long run, when we multiply it by the quantity new in the long run, we divide them, and this will be actually L multiplied by the new number of firms. And these are exactly the government spendings in the long run. So, because in this point, there will be another number of firms, because more firms will enter the market. And what we see? We see that the producer surplus in the long run stays the same as before. It is 0, because profits are equal to 0. Consumer surplus increases. Consumer surplus increases by how much? Now the price is lower, they buy more. So I will show here. So if this is the demand, yes, before price was like this, now price is like this. P before, now P in the long run. So this is the increase in the consumer surplus. But government spendings are too high. These are government spendings. That means, and produced surplus is equal to 0 as before. That means that this part, exactly, deadweight loss in the long run. Deadweight loss in the long run. So let me show this on the graph. Like this. So this is deadweight loss in the long run if we have lump sum tax subsidy. This is deadweight loss in the long run. In the long run. In the short run, deadweight loss with lump sum subsidy is equal to 0, but in the long run, deadweight loss are huge compared to deadweight loss with per unit subsidy. So that's the answer for number 2. Explain the difference between short run and long run deadweight loss. In point B, the explanation is the same. Because in the short run, under lump sum subsidy, all government spendings goes to producers. Yes, but in the long run, producer surplus is equal to 0. So some part of government spendings will go to the increase in the consumer surplus, but the government spends too much. That's why deadweight loss in the long run are present and bigger than 0. Deadweight loss in the short run are equal to 0 in such situation. So, okay, that's all. Thanks. I hope somebody will watch this video. If you watched this video, please tell me. Thanks. Mm-hmm.